Thinking of doing a fundraiser? Well, Krispy Kreme Donuts next to HCA Hospital, 23rd Street, Panama City, and on the Ross Clark Circle in Dothan says, let's raise some dough. Earn up to 50% profit with a Krispy Kreme fundraiser in-shop or online. So let's raise some dough. At Krispy Kreme Donuts next to HCA Hospital, 23rd Street, Panama City, and on the Ross Clark Circle in Dothan.
Get your green St. Patrick's Day specialty donuts at Krispy Kreme.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
With Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, you can check if you're paying too much for home insurance, because giving you options is the right thing to do.
Oh yeah, like bringing brownies to a dinner party. But I never bring brownies with nuts, because not everyone likes nuts, so they wouldn't eat those brownies. And even people who do like nuts will still eat brownies without them. Why? Because they're brownies.
But still, it's the right thing to do. So compare rates with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Our connections make powerful things happen, uniting individuals and communities. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And together, we turn great ideas into reality by accessing our networks, our experience, and the best of ourselves to make a difference. Around the world, Rotary brings leaders together to build new friendships and to solve problems. Like in Austria, where generations work side by side to build sustainable housing and community centers. In India, volunteers run a mobile blood bank to help provide a steady blood supply for their local community. And in Taiwan, people are working hard to get vulnerable citizens the support and services they need. With over 1 million members, we know what people can do when they come together. Take action with us. Find out more at rotary.org/action.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn Haven, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the next evolution of sports talk radio. The biggest stories and the biggest reactions.
Now.
And now we're taking...
With the first pick.
This is the last ball you got to bet. The Inside Drive. From college to the pros. Interviews with the newsmakers, sports betting, your phone calls, and more. And now, The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And good Wednesday morning. It's Hump Day. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. As always, live and local on 104.3 in Panama City Beach, 101.9, and along that beautiful Forgotten Coast in Port St. Joe. You can also watch and listen live on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Just search ESPN Northwest Florida. Also download that free mobile app inside the Google Play or Apple Store. That one, you do need to throw that little 104.3 in front of ESPN Northwest Florida to find it. Or you can visit our website at espnpc.com and click download the app. You can also, while you're there, sign up for the Big Bracket Challenge. It's coming up quick, Jay. Selection Sunday this Sunday, which will be broadcast right here live on ESPN Northwest Florida. You can join us and play the Ultimate Bracket Buster Challenge. You could win cash and prizes. Tune into Selection Sunday starting at 5 p.m. again right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Then select your brackets by dribbling over to espnpc.com, clicking on that Big Bracket Challenge, and then just sign up. You probably have an ESPN fantasy account already if you're a big sports fan. So invite your friends, your coworkers, whoever you want. It's open to as many people as we can get to sign up. We appreciate PCB Hobby, Pepsi, Panama City Toyota, and of course ESPN Northwest Florida for sponsoring the Big Bracket Challenge.
Yes, sir.
Jay, you doing all right today?
I'm doing mighty fine, Ryan. I think Florida State just tipped off, I believe, today.
Ooh, did they?
Yeah.
Hopefully they can maybe maybe make some stuff happen.
Maybe so.
Not quite as good as the baseball team, that basketball team is, that's for sure.
That is true.
We'll talk a little bit about that baseball team maybe later in this segment or later on in the show. We got another big one lined up for you today. Normally we have Brad Law every other Tuesday, but we're going to have him today because he was traveling up with the Auburn Tigers basketball team yesterday, heading up to Nashville as the SEC tournament will get underway today. He's going to be giving us all the updates on that tournament coverage. Maybe talk a little bit of golf, maybe some football as well, but anxious to see his thoughts on where he thinks Auburn may land in the NCAA tournament, and can they improve their stock there as potentially, most people have them as a number 4 seed, potentially falling to a 5 depending on how they do in this tournament. But is there an opportunity to move up to that 3 seed if they go on a deep run? I mean, they have the double bye, which is huge in these tournaments. So looking forward to talking to him. And of course, 12 p.m. every Wednesday, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming. He's a DFS expert, and it's a big tournament this week. What do we got coming up this week, Jay?
TPC Sawgrass.
The Players' Championship,
yes, sir.
Right around the corner. And there was an interesting press conference yesterday, and your boy Scotty Scheffler kind of called out all the LIV players, saying they're the reason for the divide between the two tours. It's the players that left the PGA Tour. But it's also going to be the weakest field in Players' Championship history.
Yeah. Well, Monahan came out yesterday for the first time in almost
9 months or something like that.
It's like he exists. I mean, it's amazing. So,
but he didn't really say anything.
No, he didn't.
He basically just said that there's, they're working on something. Yeah. They're trying to get this PIF thing going. But
why show your face if you're not gonna you know what I'm saying? Give us a little insight.
I don't think he has any. That's the problem. Well, I still think the tour doesn't care. I don't think they're trying to merge. I think they're trying to use this year as a year to survive without it and see how it goes. And if it's a successful year, then maybe they, just put it on the back burner. Or if it's not, maybe then they realize, okay. But it just seems like, and we'll talk a little bit about with Keith as well, but it just seems like golf's in a really weird place right now where it's kind of, losing its luster a little bit. People aren't as excited as they normally are.
I agree.
Now, I think that'll all change come that first full week in April. Because you'll have everybody, who's qualified, kind of playing in that tournament, but that'll be exciting. Masters tournament's really what everybody looks forward to anyway. But it just seems like even it's Players Championship week. It's they call it the 5th major,
right?
But it just doesn't seem to have the excitement it used to, and I think that sucks.
That does.
Good, bad, and indifferent. Whether you like the LIV or the PGA or whatever side you stand on, or if you don't care, it just seems like we're in a really weird place with golf, and it's all seemed to transpire since we started the Inside Drive.
It sure has.
May 1st last year. We're coming up.
Yeah,
about a little less than 2 months from our 1-year anniversary.
It's amazing.
It's going to be fun.
It's been a quick trip.
It has.
Yeah.
Some might say an even quicker trip than coming up this weekend on Sunday for the NASCAR drivers.
Oh,
1 lap around the track. It doesn't take very long.
About 14 and a half seconds.
There you go.
Right around that Bristol half-mile asphalt. Concrete. Concrete.
There you go.
We're not on asphalt this week.
Yeah. That's different. Different temperatures, different tires, all that good stuff.
Yeah, the grip's going to be, you got to have good rubbers this weekend.
Yeah.
So,
it's good in general.
It is.
Depending on what your end game is.
Right.
If you want to win, then, you got to have the right ones.
Yep.
Poll question. What do we got?
Well, I was thinking about this. I mean,
I like this one.
Do you like this one?
Yeah.
Are you a people watcher, yes or no?
Ooh, good one. We'll kick it to you first.
So
and really, is there anybody who's not a people watcher? I don't think that's good English, but I'll be interested to see if anybody votes no.
Now,
it's like America's pastime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I take it to the extreme, especially airports, baseball games, football games. I'll be at Walmart. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll be at the Orlando Magic game Sunday. I'll look up and I'll be people watching the whole time.
Yeah. Now, people studier.
Yeah, people studier. Yeah. Now, however, I've taken it to the extreme. I actually watch people watch other people.
Ooh, you're a people watching people watcher.
Yes, sir. Like I've got a degree in this.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like you see the captions come off. Like if you see some lady,
it was like the Sims video game or something like that, they'd be popping stuff over what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's like you see that one lady looking at this other lady, and it's like you see the caption from the lady watching the other lady. It's like, what is she thinking? She's like, I wish I had hair like that.
Yeah, speculating on what's going through their mind.
Yeah.
I like that. It's
fantastic.
expanding on people watching.
It's great.
I got to imagine it's going to be an overwhelming yes vote for the do you people watch it? And maybe not everybody does, but it's one of those things kind of makes America great. You can go to a lot of places and see a lot of different things. Beth's not a golf fan, but she'd always go with me to the Masters simply to people watch.
Absolutely.
She'd spend more time watching people than golf, which is completely fine because I got to do both. I got to watch people and golf. So,
but in this AI world we're living in, maybe there's less people watchers now, Ryan. I don't know.
Maybe the people that you're watching aren't actual people.
Oh no.
What do you call that? Robot watching?
Right.
That's a good one, though. That's a good poll question. Appreciate you bringing that one to the table.
Is David Hayes a people studier?
I don't know about studier, but yeah, I mean, of course, watch people.
Yeah. It's almost like human nature.
Yeah.
I think it's I don't know, man. It's a philosophy.
Lately, I've just been trying to keep my head down and just. Focus. Straight line it.
Focus. That's
left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good one, though.
You know, going back, I think. But going back, though, with your coaching, right? I mean, I remember the Facebook post that you posted about all the kids. You were able to, that was the best post ever as a coach, is you were able to label these kids with what their attributes were.
Well, if I wasn't watching as a coach, then I'm
probably not doing the best volunteer job there. That's for sure.
But, I mean, yes, I try to be as observant as possible, especially when I'm with people, you know, that I'm like hanging around and stuff. Then yeah, I want to be very observant. Out in public, it's hard not to be a people watcher. There's just that line of when you, all right, so now you're observing, and then you know how we are.
Does something happen that you may have to make you act during your watching situation?
True.
There you go. And then are you judging when you're, you know what I'm saying?
No, I think judgment and people watching come hand in hand.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying. We're never going to be able to eliminate that, but I know that I do that. So with that, I just try to keep my head down.
There you go. There you go.
I like it, Dave.
But you can expand, and obviously the poll question is, are you a people watcher or not? We can follow that up with, where's the best place? And you don't have to put this on the thing, but you can just comment on our show. Where's the best place in Bay County to people watch?
Oh, man. It used to be the mall.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I guess, like,
the beach.
The beach.
That's up there. I would say that's certainly up there.
You got your shades on.
Maybe some of these big-time sports tournaments, because you never know what some of the parents are going to do.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
The MMA fight that we went to, David, that was a great one.
Ew.
That was a good one.
Not just
because no one else is even realizing that you're watching them, because everyone else is watching the screens or watching what's in their hands. Right. So yeah, that's they become oblivious after a few of them, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's a good poll question, though. Yeah. That's good stuff. It's like you're leading this whole show. This is good. No, keep it going. Keep it going. Now, did you listen to Doc A yesterday on the show and place any of those bets?
I did not.
All three of them cashed.
Did they?
Yep.
Imagine that.
Knicks won, Pacers won, and SGA went over 45 total between, I think it was points, rebounds, and assists, if I'm not mistaken. He texted me last night letting me know.
Nice.
He also says we're the only ones that call him Doc A, but he loves it.
What does everybody else call him?
Either Dr. A or his name.
Really?
We're the only ones that call him Doc A, yeah. So, but he likes it. He loves it.
Okay.
So it's good stuff. But if you listen to those three picks he gave at the end of his segment yesterday, you would have cashed. And you're not always going to cash, obviously, but he seemed pretty confident in those yesterday, and they paid off.
Fantasy Hall of Famer, ESPN writer.
NBA Fantasy Hall of Fame writer.
Hall of Fame writer.
Yes.
Boom.
And he put an article out on ESPN.com yesterday on the sports betting side of things for NBA. So if you had a chance to read that, I think it included what he told us.
Okay.
So
all right.
There's a reason he's in the Hall of Fame.
This is true.
And he's just got great stories as well.
He does.
Fantastic stuff. Also got to give a huge shout out. I didn't even realize how high they were ranked in the state, but just going over the scores from yesterday, you had varsity softball. Mosley beat Chipley 10-5, going to 5-5 on the season. Chipley drops to 1-9. Varsity baseball, North Bay Haven improves to 3-4, beating Freeport 13-3. North Bay Haven extends their good season, growing to 8-2, taking on Clinton. They're only 1-1 now, but they beat them 11-0. Bay High improves to 5-3 after being a good 6-2 Bellevue team, 2-1 close game there. Mariana took care of Rutherford 10-0, improving to 6-1 on the season. Arnold baseball continues to stay undefeated, moving to 7-0 after beating Rickards 12-2 yesterday. But I also want to expand on Arnold baseball here in just a second. And then the Arnold softball team is now 10-0, and they beat Bozeman 12-1 yesterday. Bozeman drops to 3-3. But what I did not realize, Jay, and I found this out, that Arnold baseball in 4A is currently ranked number 1 in the state for 4A. In the entire state of Florida, all rankings, they're ranked number 7. So kind of following in the footsteps there of the soccer team, and good stuff there. And we'll hopefully get Mir reach out to some of the coaches and maybe talk to some of the players as the season progresses. I don't like to bother them in season, especially when they're playing multiple games a week. But pretty impressive there. Arnold's having a great baseball year early on, being number 1 in 4A.
It's a whiles away, but April 24th, Bozeman versus Arnold.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yes, sir.
That'll be good. Where's that one going to be played at?
Arnold.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
That'd be a good one to go out and see.
That would be.
Yeah? April 24th?
Yes,
that
sir.
would be a Thursday.
Wednesday. So I might have to head there after church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, because the 26th, that's right, 26th is a Friday. The only reason I did is it's the Dusty Slay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So kudos to Arnold on that one, that's for sure. And then don't know if you saw any college baseball action there, Jay, yesterday, but the Florida State Seminoles have improved to 15-0 on the season after they beat the Florida Gators yesterday in Gainesville 12-8. Florida drops to 10-6 on the season, but cool stuff by pitcher Mosley here, and that's Hudson Rowan. We've talked about him. Him and another freshman pitcher combined for 2.5 innings and 15 strikeouts, or excuse me, 6 pitchers, 15 strikeouts. But another good outing there by, or a good addition, a little relief pitching there by Hudson Rowan. So kudos to him. He played over there at Mosley High School. But this is the first time since. It's the best, tied for third best start in program history, and FSU and Texas A&M are the last 2 undefeated teams in the country. So kudos to them. They've scored at least 7 runs in 15 consecutive games, the school record. The previous high was 12 straight games in March of 1986 and 1996. They've improved to 11-0 when scoring first, but they are 15-0 on the season. So apparently they're also 4-0 when not scoring first, and just a great start for them. Obviously, they had some coaching transitions when Mike Martin Sr. Retired, and unfortunately he has since passed away, and his son kind of took over, but then they made a coaching change, brought in the guy from Notre Dame. I forget his name off the top of my head, but they picked up some guys in the transfer portal and making some good stuff happen there. So kudos to Tallahassee and the Seminoles just down the road from ESPN Northwest Florida here.
Link Jarrett.
Yep, Link, thank you. Yep. There you go. Mr. Jarrett coming from Notre Dame. I believe he played at FSU, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Again, that's just right off the top of my head. Also got to give a shout out to my Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They took on number 7 Wake Forest yesterday in a midweek series there, and they got the bats continued going. I believe they've won 14 straight games, and they won that one 17-9. Wake Forest got within 4 runs there, I think, in the 7th inning, but Coastal's bats were hot, and 17 runs scored there is pretty impressive. So I just keep an eye on those Chanticleers. It's Gary Gilmore's last season. He's going to be retiring after the season. He's been there for 29 years, won 1 national championship. So maybe this year it's going to be that next one.
Wow.
So some special stuff going on. We talked briefly about who Coach James Hale was going to be rooting for in the Southern Miss Alabama game, and hopefully he rooted for Southern Miss because they beat Alabama, number 14 Alabama, 9-7 in that one. Auburn took down Troy in a midweek matchup, 8-2. That was actually played up there where the Toyota Field. That sounds like where the trash pan display, but that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Auburn, so that may not be the case.
Huntsville.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And then Dallas Baptist had another game. They lost to TCU 9-6. And then you had a lot of other teams, high-ranked teams that took care of business and won. But Florida State's got to be ranked next week. 15-0, unranked. And that's just in the D1 baseball poll. I think they're ranked in like the 4 or 5 other polls that there are. But taking down number 8 Florida and going 15-0 on the season, they've got to be ranked next week. We'll
hopefully ACC is in the power conference in baseball. If not, you never know.
What's that mean?
Well, Florida State didn't get the with the
they didn't get the football. Yeah, that's right. They dropped out.
I mean, FSU's got to get a break at some point, right?
You would think.
Yeah,
you would think.
Dang.
I don't know. You go back to 2020 with the men's tournament.
Oh yeah,
they had a great year,
and then
it didn't work out for them. Then you got 12-0, missed the playoff. Oh my goodness,
been tough.
But in baseball, you really can't be denied like that just because if you make it to you make it to the regionals.
Yeah, then it's in your
yeah.
It's up to you at that point. Unless you get a really bad ump or something, but that won't happen.
Right.
That won't happen. But yeah, so cool stuff there. Excited to see Florida State, and obviously my Coastal Carolina Chanticleers are making some waves there. I'm going to talk about it briefly. We may have to kick it to the next segment when we get back. But I want to get, since you're now leaving a little early today, again on Wednesday, we'll have to do it fairly quickly. But I've got all the conference championship odds on who to win, and I want to each pick in the Power 5 anyway. There's 8 million conferences in Division I basketball. But the ACC tournament, like you said, Florida State getting underway. It actually started yesterday. But looks like the teams on the bubble in this conference are Virginia, Wake Forest, and Pittsburgh. As we talked about I think it was last week. It might have been Monday. North Carolina won the regular season championship. That conference tournament will culminate at 7:30 Central Time on ESPN. I think we're doing that one as well, the ACC Conference Championship.
Yeah, we'll be doing that Saturday evening. We'll have the semifinals of the SEC Saturday morning, and then the SEC Championship Sunday evening. We've got some ACC basketball tonight, tomorrow, and Friday as well.
Nice. Tune in right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. And then guess what starts next week?
What does? Oh, the actual bracket.
March Madness.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the official. The dance.
The dance.
As you learned yesterday.
I did. The dance.
And automatic bids are getting settled left and right as a lot of these other conferences, their conference championships have either finished up or are finishing up. But let's get 2 picks in real quick. Jay, we'll let you pick first. And here's what I'm going to do. If you get the conference champion right, you're going to get 2 points.
Okay.
And you can pick, we can pick the same teams.
Okay.
Or not. What do you want to do? Same teams or no?
Same teams.
Oh, you should have said no. It would have benefited you potentially, especially with you getting the first pick. But yeah, so it'll give you 2 points to our however long season tally tournament thing we're doing. Just trying to do as much as they can. David will end up winning everything again, but that's okay. All right, so on the ACC side of things, you've got the top 2 very much ahead of everybody else. You got the North Carolina Tar Heels at plus 160, the Duke Blue Devils at plus 175, and then it drops significantly down with Clemson, Wake Forest being plus 1,000, and then Pittsburgh plus 1,600. I'm not even going to go in the numbers. Who you want to take in the ACC Conference Championship real quick before we got to go to break?
I'll take North Carolina.
That's
just off the cuff.
That's a smart move. Off the cuff.
Off the cuff.
They're clearly the favorite. They won the regular season. David, I'll let you go second in this one.
I'm glad that Jay gave us the option to take same teams here. I'll roll with the Tar Heels as well.
All right, well, I'm going to go with Duke then, just to give myself an opportunity. I may go down 4 points total to each of you, but we'll see. Hopefully Duke can avenge that loss there to UNC in the regular season game that determined the champion. But we got to go ahead and take a break. We'll get the rest of those in before you leave today on the show. Coming up, we got Brad Law. He's the Director of Broadcast Operations for the Auburn Sports Radio Network. Want to hear his thoughts and insights on the Auburn Tigers and their chances to win the SEC Championship. We'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The afternoon underdogs.
But with the Atlanta Braves, you're like, man, there's a lot of times when you're setting all these records in the midst of the regular season, it's really hard to compound that and take that with you into the playoffs. Boston last year had that run and then a heartbreaking defeat in the first round to the Florida Panthers.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Wednesday. For this afternoon and evening, some sun and a high of 70 with a gentle breeze at 9 miles per hour out of the south-southeast. Tonight, slight fog and partly cloudy skies with lows around 58. Tomorrow, slightly foggy in the morning and then some clouds and a temperature near 74. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
It's time to pick your path and go big and go bold from Bill Bird Kia. You can drive away in a brand new 2024 Telluride from Bill Bird Kia. The 2024 Telluride protects what matters, and it's built for the long haul. Its technology will connect with confidence, and its upscale, all-around rugged look will take you on to the next adventure. The road is yours. Bill Bird Kia, the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or BillBirdKia.com.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
Suffer from political talk radio fatigue? Tune into the most fun and exciting new radio show on the Gulf Coast. It's The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Like I said, typically we have them on Tuesdays every other week, but it is Wednesday. He's traveling on the team bus up there to Nashville, and that's Brad Law. He's Director of Broadcast Operations with the Auburn Sports Radio Network. And even though we talk to him bi-weekly, those 2 weeks go by very, very fast.
Yes.
Last time we were talking to him, we were getting ready for those last few games, and Auburn played pretty well in those last few games. Brad, how are you doing today? Can you hear us, Brad? We'll try to get him back on there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hey, it's a big one up there, the SEC Championship. We'll try to get him back on there. If not, we can get your pick'ems. It almost kind of is working out a little bit because I know you got to go teach your what you thought was your Scottish friend today.
That's right.
You had a lesson yesterday with a degenerate, right?
I did. Hopefully he's listening. Ryan, if you're listening, we got Keith coming on.
I already like
noon.
the name.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Keith coming on at noon is going to give you the lowdown on the DFS of Sawgrass, and hopefully he can pick a winner. But this guy, he's into it, man. I enjoyed talking to him yesterday about the bets that he's got going on.
There you go. But I think we got Brad Law on the line now. Brad, how you doing?
I'm well. Can you hear me okay this time?
Oh, fantastic. Sounds great.
Good.
And we'll just jump right into it. You are up there in Nashville. It is SEC tournament time. Obviously, Auburn with that. Last time we talked to you, I think we talked to you after the Tennessee game, and they played a great basketball game. Just didn't end up winning. And obviously, Tennessee had a great end of their season, but then dropped one to Kentucky there at the end. But how crucial was Auburn's last 3 games? And obviously, that the victory against Georgia at home for the last game of the season on senior night was huge, because that got them into the top 4 over South Carolina.
Yeah, you get the double bye, and the double bye is big for a lot of reasons. I mean, Auburn is a team that has prided itself on its depth all year, and so to play 3 games versus 4, you really exhibit your depth. Your depth really shows on Saturday and Sunday when everybody has played at least 1 game now, and so that's big for Auburn. I think, frankly, they match up well with South Carolina and what Coach Paris, the SEC Coach of the Year, runs and the way he organizes his defense. And so a potential matchup against them, I think, is advantageous for Auburn versus, others that they could play. So I like the draw. And obviously finishing well was good for the draw, but it was also good to continue to play with confidence and momentum going into conference play. I mean, we came out of that Tennessee game saying, well, you lost by 4 at Tennessee, which is probably going to win the conference championship, and the way they did it was to have the SEC Player of the Year have a career game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not typical. So it took an atypical effort to beat Auburn on the road. So given that, you feel good anywhere you go in the country for a neutral site game the rest of the way. And so to carry that confidence, I think, is big for Auburn going into the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, they await the winner of, Vanderbilt, Arkansas get underway tonight to start the SEC tournament. The winner of that game will take on South Carolina. You never want to assume anything, but you would like to assume that South Carolina would take care of business in that one against two teams that certainly struggled during the regular season, and leads to that matchup on Friday, which would be the mid-afternoon type game. But I'm just curious to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, playing basketball, you usually play two-ish games a week, sometimes just one, separated by a lot of days. And, this SEC tournament, you're playing back-to-back-to-back games. You mentioned it before, but, Auburn has the depth on it. But how different is it for these teams to prepare when you're playing day in and day out, when that's just not something you're used to doing during the regular season?
It's not physical. The main taxation comes on the mental side and the prep side. And the way these coaching staffs do, the way Auburn does it, is they divide their assistant coaches into three groups to handle advanced scouting. And so there's one group that's working now on South Carolina. There's another group working now on Vanderbilt, another group working now on Arkansas. Once one of those teams, Arkansas or Vanderbilt, loses tonight, my guess is that team will begin some advanced scouting on Tennessee. And because that would be, if Auburn wins its quarterfinal matchup, that would be the very likely semifinal matchup. And so at the end of your quarterfinal game, you have less than 24 hours, because that game's going to end around 5 o'clock Central on Friday, and then they play at noon Central Saturday in the semifinal game. So you have 19 hours until it's game time. And so there's a limited amount of time to prep. And then if you win Saturday, you've got a limited amount of time to prep for a new opponent on Sunday. And it helps that you've played all these teams during the regular season, but, these guys, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, or in Jalen Williams' case, 30. These guys are veteran players. They're young players. They have, I guess you can't be both. Some are veterans, some are young, but they are athletes.
Yes.
Their bodies are fine. It's the more mental strain of having to come back and prepare. I watched them in Brooklyn earlier this year play against Notre Dame on one day, and then come back the next day and play St. Bonaventure. And they got back to the hotel at midnight and started watching film on St. Bonaventure for the game the very next day. They do have some experience doing it, but I think, to answer the question, that's where your depth comes in. Auburn is a much tougher team to prepare for an opponent on less than 24 hours notice, because they do have 10 players that effectively play. They play effectively between 15 and 25 minutes a game.
Yeah, and that was going to be kind of one of my questions. Like, how does the scouting process work? Obviously, they've played all these teams before as well, because they're all conference opponents. Yeah. But yeah, because you don't necessarily know, but you kind of know. So it was very cool insight there on how they kind of divide and conquer and are kind of preparing for multiple teams all at once. And then as it shakes out, they've already started the preparation so they can just quickly jump back into it. But Jade, you got something?
He may have answered my question. I was just going to ask you, Brad. I know you're involved with the team heavily. What does a typical day look like? I know you guys are in Nashville and things are different, but let's back up to regular season. You got a 6 p.m. tip-off. What are some of the things that happens with the basketball team throughout the day as a group? Yeah,
they're going to be, they're going to have a team meal in the morning. They may watch some film. They're going to go to a shoot-around around the middle of the day. If you're in class, if you're in the regular season, you have classes, or if it's a road trip, you're going to have study time and things like that. You're going to take care of the academic side. But, about 4 hours out, you're going to meet, you're going to have a team meal, maybe look at a little more film, and then probably 2 hours before the game, get to the arena and get some shots up, and then go get into the uniform and go through your standard warm-up routine. So there's a fair amount of, again, if it's a later game, if it's a 1 o'clock game on a Saturday, that's truncated considerably. But so you have a 6 o'clock game on the road, your shoot around might be at 12 or 1 in the afternoon, and there's probably film before and after that mini practice. So
is there a bed check that happens late at night, or is that
curfew action?
Curfew?
There is a curfew. Yeah, there's a curfew, and some of that, again, depends on what time your game is the next day or how late you've played that night. So, because after the game, you're going to come back, you're going to eat a little post-game meal, and probably a little bit of film, frankly, at the post-game meal.
Gotcha.
So Bruce is big on film. He's big on film and prep.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I'm excited about this one. And two, a good friend of mine, Coach Cliff Ellis, who we've had on the show many a times, he coached at my alma mater, Coastal Carolina. I was talking to him, it was either yesterday or the day before, and he's very excited about heading up because I know they're presenting him with I don't know the exact name of the award, but they're presenting him with an award from his time in Auburn in the SEC during this tournament.
Yeah, at the SEC tournament every year, they have the Legends class, and so they recognize one legend from each school. And Cliff Ellis is the Auburn legend, and I think it's very exciting. It's the 25-year anniversary of his regular season championship team here at Auburn that went 29-4.
1999, that's right. Crazy, it's been 25 years.
You're telling me, man, I was 18 watching that team do special things, and I can't believe it's been 25 years. But, yeah, and I guess now that he's retired from Coastal Carolina, he's retired from coaching, I think it was a no-brainer for him to be the legend, and it's about time, and I'm excited to see him get recognized for what he did at Auburn. 10 years here at Auburn, 3 NCAA tournaments, a couple of other NIT appearances, and again, that 98-99 team holds a special place for people of our generation. That even with all the recent success, and we're fond of it, and we're thankful for it, and we're so grateful the program is where it is right now. But for those days with the Cliff Dwellers and the 98-99 team with Damian Fishback and Doc Robinson and Bryant Smith and Scott Pullman and Mamadou Njai and Chris Porter and all those guys, and that was a special group.
Yes, and he's just such a good dude, and we've talked to him a lot here on the show, and we talked about like the current state of college basketball, and he's kind of in the same boat as Nick Saban, why he decided to kind of be done with it, because at a smaller school like Coastal Carolina, he just flat out said like we can't get the players we need to compete with some of these other teams, simply because the NIL, and you get these guys that come into a smaller school and they're going somewhere else where they're getting paid 6 figures to go play basketball.
And that's, that is where we are. That's not the players' fault.
No, absolutely not.
The adults who made these decisions had to know this was coming, and if they didn't, then they shouldn't have been the ones who made the decisions. It's a very different game. I don't love the state of college athletics. Coaches don't love it right now. There are a lot of problems with it that Coach Ellis rightly points out, and there is no choice but to adapt, and that's, again, because the people who made the decisions made the decisions. I'll leave it at that before I say too much.
Absolutely,
I'm tired from a long road trip. I'm liable to say something I shouldn't say.
No, there you go. We understand it, and it seems, and it's, we talk about it all the time, but it is part of the sport, and you either adapt or you don't, and it seems like it's the guys that have been coaching for a really, really long time that they're just, you know what, it's just time for us, and maybe that was a good thing. But getting back to Auburn and their potential NCAA championship bid, a lot of people saying got the 4 seed kind of in the bag, potentially could fall to a 5 seed if they, go one and done here in the SEC. Where do you think? Do they have an opportunity to potentially get to the 3rd seed should they win an NCAA or SEC championship? Yeah. Or do you think they're pretty much kind of, there's not a lot of movement at this point, regardless of how the tournament goes?
I tend to think there's not a lot of movement, regardless of how the tournament goes, just because we have seen fewer and we've seen that conference tournaments matter less, seemingly with each passing year. And so I don't know. I mean, if they were to win the SEC tournament, would that be enough to overtake, I guess, Lunardi's bracketology? Has Kentucky as a 3 seed right now? Maybe. If Kentucky loses, say, in the semifinals and Auburn wins the SEC tournament, maybe, but I doubt it. If Iowa State loses its first game in the Big 12 tournament, I guess that'll be tomorrow that they play that. They're currently a projected 3 seed. Baylor beat Auburn head-to-head in the very first game of the year. They seem pretty firm. Duke seems pretty firm at a 3. You got to think both those teams are going to get to at least the semifinals of their conference tournaments. So if those other projected 3 seeds make it even to the semis, do you punish them for losing against a quality opponent in the semifinal round of a conference tournament? That's why I don't think your conference tournaments mean as much now, because the losses that teams are taking are to other high-quality, well-projected teams. So, no, I if you give me Auburn as a 4 seed versus the field, Auburn as any other seed, I'd probably take a 4 right now. They seem pretty firm according to all the projections.
Yeah. So, so there you go, Auburn fans. If they happen to not win the championship or lose to a good, hopefully they get past that quarterfinal round and lose to a potential good Tennessee team in that second round, not going to really affect that NCAA bid. But and obviously I understand that it doesn't mean as much as it used to with these conference championships as far as seeding. But as far as your play going into the NCAA tournament, how important it is just to go out on a really good, that the loss to Tennessee I keep going back to, because they played a great basketball game. And like you mentioned, it was an anomaly. Connect had a monster game and really was the one that won that game for him. How important it is to play good basketball in this tournament?
Well, it's huge going into the NCAA tournament. I mean, at first you want to win a conference championship, and if you can win a conference championship and hang a banner and get a ring, that's objective number 1. But number 2, we saw what Auburn winning the SEC tournament in 2019 did to boost them in March. They, the first game was the hardest one to win. Bruce says that frequently. And then they went on and won the rest of them. Yep. And then they get in the NCAA tournament. The first was hard to win, and then they get to the Final Four. Right now, I think because Kentucky beat Tennessee in the final regular season game, people feel better about Kentucky than they do Tennessee in the SEC tournament, by and large. They think Kentucky is one of the most dangerous teams in the country right now. How you play in your last few games matters. So if you go into the NCAA tournament having won the SEC tournament and survived this gauntlet that I think any of 6 teams have a legitimate chance to win, you're naturally going to have a lot more confidence, not only internally, but externally. Others are going to talk about you and promote you and pump you up a little more going into the tournament. It does wonders for you as you go into the NCAA tournament. Yeah,
absolutely. So hopefully they keep that going. And that was going to be my other question, and you kind of answered it already. Who would you be? Say Auburn, and you never like to look ahead, but say Auburn makes it to the SEC championship game in the tournament. Is who more difficult of an opponent at this point would you say would be? Would it be a Kentucky like you mentioned, or if Alabama were to be able to make that run into it and we got the Iron Bowl of basketball in the SEC championship game? Who would you think would be a more difficult opponent in that one?
Kentucky by 8,000 miles. I think Alabama, quite frankly, has struggled down the stretch in the regular season. The toughest part of their schedule was the last 3 weeks of the regular season, and they did not answer the bell like their fans probably would like them to, and like their coaches and players would have liked to. And so Kentucky beat them by 30 in their regular season meeting in Rupp. And so, it's a neutral floor, it'd be different. But the way Kentucky is playing, with the confidence and the momentum and those freshmen really coming into their own, and Reed Sheppard playing like a first-team All-SEC guy, I think Kentucky is the most dangerous opponent that any team could face in the SEC tournament. And quite frankly, I'd love to see an Auburn-Kentucky matchup because they beat us at our place just 3.5 weeks ago. And I think Auburn would relish an opportunity to make amends for that.
Yes, absolutely. Regardless of all of that, it should be once we get to those quarterfinal rounds, it really should be a great SEC tournament. And looking forward to watching some high quality basketball. Before we let you go, just want to give one quick shout out to that #1 men's golf team in the country, and that is the Auburn Tigers. So always excited when you got a #1 ranked team in your sports program, I would imagine.
It is, yeah. They're very good. They've got guys who feel like they've been here a really long time that haven't been here a really long time. Like J.M. Butler is a senior now, and it feels like he's been here 8 years. But between Jackson Coyben and Alex Vogelsong, These are guys that if you don't know their names, you're probably going to hear their names in the years to come if you follow the tour.
There you go. There you go. Well, Brad, we always appreciate your time, and hopefully next time we talk in a couple weeks, we'll be talking about Auburn getting some early round wins and moving along in the tournament. But we got a lot of these games being broadcast right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, so we appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, man. In 2 weeks, I guess we'll be between the first and second rounds in the Sweet 16. So if Auburn's still playing, then they're in the Sweet 16. I would love that. Let's go ahead and book that now.
Yes, I like that. We'll think good, positive thoughts, and we'll make that happen. That's for sure. Brad, we appreciate your time as always.
All right. You got it. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. He usually always says War Eagle when he goes, so I'll do it for him this time. War Eagle. You guys are listening to The Inside Drive. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents
Wrestling Against Cancer, number 9.
Saturday, April 27th at Bay Haven Charter Academy. In the main event, it's a tag team showdown with Exodus versus Mike Steele and Mr. 850. Then, Kelly Mann and Kelly Clark in the Wrestling Against Cancer Championship bout. Plus, exciting women's wrestling. Doors open at 5:30. Bell time 6:30.
More information, ESPNPC.com.
Ready to save big on the #1 selling car brand in the world? It's Ready, Set, Go time at Panama City Toyota, where you'll get 2.99% APR plus 90 days until you make your first payment on a new Camry. Get 2.99% on the sporty Corolla, ready for 2.99% on a new RAV4, and get 2.99% on the Taft Tundra. Wherever life leads, there's a Toyota for you, right here at Panama City Toyota.
Offer expires April 1st. For details, visit PanamaCityToyota.com.
Are you looking for a place to take a leak? Do you have a truck, tractor, or other hydraulic equipment leaking or not performing as it should? At Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, we can get you back to work. Do you have a busted or leaking hose? We can typically replace them while you wait. Hydraulic cylinder or pump needing repair? In many cases, we can have it back to you the next day. Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, 6840 Highway 77 in Southport, just south of Tractor Supply. The best place in town to take a leak.
Signworks, a business serving businesses since 1985. Everything from signs and banners, vehicles and boats, magnetic and real estate signs, contractor signs, and much more. Signworks can do large format, full color printing too. Signworks, a real professional in the business world. Call Signworks at 785-8899. Signworks, 850-785-8899.
We're starting fresh.
Fresh new start.
Locally sourced, Farm to Radio. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is live and local. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. On ESPN Northwest Florida.
I was down, but now I'm up. Yeah. It's all God, this ain't no.
I like it. We haven't heard this one yet as a rejoiner. That's some good stuff. Always keeps us on our toes, which I appreciate. That's DJ Davey Crockett from Behind the Glass. You're listening to The Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. I know you got to go, so we got to get to these conference championship picks very, very quickly. Next up, we got the Big Ten. You went first. I'll let David go first here on the Big Ten, and we'll keep rotating it around. Currently, Purdue is minus 110. The Fighting Illini are plus 300. The Nebraska Cornhuskers plus 750. And then Michigan and Michigan State and beyond jumps up to plus 1,000. David, who are you going with in this one?
I'm going to lean with Purdue. They're going to have a strong Big Ten tournament and a first or second round exit in the tournament as per usual.
There you go. There you go. I'll go next, I guess, in this one. I got two good friends that are huge Illinois fans, so I'm going to go with the Fighting Illini to potentially upset Purdue maybe in that championship game. So I'll go with Illinois. Did that for Coach.
Yeah, Illinois. Yeah. They are going to make some noise.
Ooh.
They are going to make some noise. So I'm going to pick Illinois as well. And that S is not silent.
There you go. I like it. That's official. All right. Next one we got up. That's officially official. Next conference there is the Big 12. Currently the Houston Cougars, who have the most NCAA golf national championships, is minus 140. Iowa State plus 425. Baylor Bears 550. BYU and Kansas, it jumps up significantly, 1,300 and 2,000. A little surprising Kansas is plus 2,000 to win that conference championship. And maybe, I know they got smoked there at the end of the season by Houston, but kind of a Kentucky team. You just never count them out of the tournament. So I get to go first in this one. I think I know who David's taken in this one, and I'm going to go with the Iowa State Cyclones. Brock Purdy, alum there. Obviously, they're Houston's a heavy favorite to win the conference championship, but every game's an end game of itself. So I'm going to take Iowa State in this one. And next will be to you, Jay.
Well, the Kansas Jayhawks women's golf team has been at Bay Point the last couple of days.
They've been hanging out, getting some practice in.
So, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and go Kansas Jayhawks.
Put your money where your mouth is. Put a hundo on them to win. That'll pay you $20,000.
Would it? Oh, my gosh.
$20,000. 4 zeros. Yeah, it would. It would. Yeah, they're plus 2,000 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, put a hundo on them. Win the conference championship. Doesn't sound like a bad bet because it is Kansas.
That'd be a life changer in this man's wallet.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you'd lose $100 if they lose in their first game.
Also life changing.
Yes. Also very, very important, and that is how betting works. All right, so you got the Kansas. Nobody's taking the favorite, and if I think he does what he does, although he may take the favorite now since neither one of us did, but does he? Does he stick with the scary ones? What is it? If it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back.
That's right. Yep. That's it.
I am referencing the Bears, and that is the Baylor Bears. Curious to see who David picks here for the Big 12 championship.
I'm struggling right there between Houston and Baylor, and then there's a side of me that just wants to reach up to the top of the bracket and take Texas Tech as well.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
They'll be playing first on Thursday. But, man, I think Baylor can have the run in the tournament. Give me Houston. I'll go with the favorite in this one. Their defense is just so strong.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely. All right, we'll skip. I didn't add the. Actually, you know what? What would you rather do, the Big East or the Pac-12? You call it, Jay.
Man, you know who you're talking to, right? Doesn't matter to me.
That's why I asked you.
Let's go Big East.
Big East. Okay, perfect. So I'll scratch the Pac-12 off there. All right, Connecticut is minus 165. The Creighton Blue Jays plus 375. Marquette's plus 650, and then jumps up to plus 1,200 for Villanova and St. John's. I guess it's back to you, Jay.
Back to me.
Top of the order.
In all my years of watching, Villanova just sounds like a good basketball team, and I know they've been to the dance quite a few times. Let's go Villanova.
Won a national championship.
Yeah, there you go.
Did they win back-to-back?
That I don't know.
A good friend from high school went to Villanova, and I know they at least won one, but I don't know if they won back-to-back. So you are going with Nova.
Are you sure about that, Vic? Anything's possible, right?
I didn't even mention them on this.
What state is Villanova?
Pennsylvania.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're 10-10 in the Big East.
Yeah, plus 1,200 to win the tournament.
Wait, so Kansas's
odds to win the tournament are 800 plus 800 more or less, however you look at it, than Villanova to win their conference tournament.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that is wild. I'm going to go with the favorite in this one as well. I know I'm just chalking it up, but UConn, very similar to Houston.
We have all the options to pick those same teams.
Right. So. I'm going with the Huskies.
The Huskies were having a heck of a year, that is for sure. All right, that leads to me. Who do I go with on this one? Just because they're the Blue Jays, I'm going to go with Creighton. Why not?
That would be my secondary pick.
Yeah, I mean, they're the second favorite. But I've got to, try to make some ground up because that hole's getting bigger for me now as well. So I'm going to go with Creighton on this one. Jay, I know you got to bounce here in a second, so that'll leave us to the last of the 5 that we are picking, and that is the SEC. Currently, Tennessee plus 190. Tennessee is actually, let me look at the Pac-12. Yeah, Pac-12. The SEC is the only one out of these conferences that we're talking about that doesn't have a favorite that is minus in the odds stake. Tennessee is plus 190. Auburn is plus 260. Kentucky is plus 350. Alabama plus 525. And then it jumps up to plus 1,200 for the Florida Gators. And I'm guessing South Carolina's probably around there somewhere as well. But, hey, listening to Brad Law there, that plus 350 on Kentucky may not be a bad bet.
Mm-hmm. Where's Auburn?
They're plus 260, currently second favorite there. And I guess it's back to David.
I'm going to go with the Wildcats of Kentucky here.
I like that.
Yeah, that's going to. My secondary pick would probably be Florida.
Yeah, they're a scary team. I might, talking about this, it might be worth a couple bucks on some of these, just, because you have your team that you want to win, and if that team happens to lose, you got something else to potentially root for. So I guess it's to me, right?
Yeah.
I only got one choice in this one. Got to go with Auburn.
Yeah.
Not only because, I'm an Auburn fan, but I also think that, they're playing some good basketball right now, and it's time for them to get back to that SEC tournament championship so they can go on another deep run.
I'll do the Ben Crenshaw got a feeling about it. I just got a good feeling. I think Auburn does come out, and I'm going to take Auburn as well.
There you go. So you got a couple same picks there. And just to recap that real quick before you got to go, on the SEC side of things, you and I, Jay, have Auburn. David has Kentucky. ACC, you have UNC. David has UNC, and I took the Duke Blue Devils. On the Big Ten side of things, you and I both have Illinois, and David has the favorite there, Purdue, which I probably, if I had to guess off the top of my head, they're also the favorite to win the national championship. Probably close to some of these other ones, but I would think that they're the favorite right now. Houston may be close. It may be close. I don't exactly know, but those are probably the two favorites right now early on. And then on the Big 12 side of things, you got the Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah.
I got Iowa State, and David has the Houston Cougars. On the Big East side, you took Nova, I took Creighton, David took UConn. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Again, they're worth 2 points each to our total. We'll know the answer to all that when we come back to the show on Monday.
Nice.
Some good stuff. You got to go?
Yeah, I got to roll out. I hate to roll out in the middle of a segment, but
you've done it before. You'll do it again.
All 20s.
Yeah. So, all right, tell us what we should talk about for these next 5 minutes while you're listening on the way back to Bay Point.
Keith's going to take care of it between 12 and 12:40.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so 10 minutes.
What do you want to hear about on your way to Bay Point?
I didn't say anything about Keith.
Okay, I got you. Let's see. We've hit the locals, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've hit the locals. We've hit some basketball.
You take this long, you're going to be late for your lesson.
Yeah,
okay. He'll be talking for the next 5 minutes, trying to figure out what we should be talking about for the next 5 minutes.
Baseball? I mean, there's some baseball spring training going on.
Yeah, there is. It's exciting. They're slowly starting to cut down the rosters and all that good stuff. But yeah, I was going to talk. I may kick that to tomorrow because I may want you to be there and talk about maybe later on today. Me and David may hit it, but Saban's had a lot of comments about the NIL, and he's starting to kind of talk a little bit more about why he ended up retiring, and a lot of people kind of speculated that. You got to go. You got to get to your lesson. Stop listening to me. But yeah, I mean, obviously, free agency continues to be kind of crazy. Had some action. Not as much action it seemed yesterday as on Monday, but today at I believe it's 3 p.m. the official new league season starts. So all this stuff will get going. That's for sure. But yeah, and like we said yesterday, the Bengals, they're not trading Joe Mixon, or they're trading Joe Mixon, not cutting him. And people talking about Deontay Johnson now going to the Carolina Panthers, and people like, look at their offense. They got a good offense, but they're not doing anything, and maybe they will in the draft, not doing anything for that line to protect that offense. It's one thing to have an offense and weapons, but if you don't have the time to get the ball to those weapons, it really means nothing.
And Bryce Young needs an offensive. Yeah. I mean, every quarterback needs an offensive line in front of him, but the smaller you are, the more that you need an offensive line in front of you. He had absolutely no time last year, and I'm not trying to stick up for him. Who knows if he's going to end up being a good NFL quarterback? We've seen these Bama guys come through, and just hasn't really worked out for Mac Jones. Tua's kind of teetering on that fence at this point. I mean, he's extremely accurate and whatnot, but Bryce Young, from what we saw from him last year, just but it's hard to say, that guy's not going to be able to cut it if he can't even stay up on his feet.
Yeah, you really haven't got the chance to see what he really can do. He was sacked a million times. I mean, you can only throw the ball on the run so many times and be successful with it. But still a lot of free agents available. And what do you think, David, about the Dallas Cowboys making 0 moves so far in free agency?
It was interesting. It's been interesting. We kind of talked about that. The first thing is he said that they were going to make some splashes in free agency, and I don't know.
They're all in. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any free agents left to really make even a ripple compared to some of what the other teams have done, especially in your own division. The Commanders have gotten better off rip, in my opinion. Now you're going to have Brian Robinson Jr. over there and Austin Eckler. Once they figure out the quarterback position, can they make it, even more difficult for the NFC East or for the eventual divisional champion out of the NFC East. It's crazy though, because now you're talking about paying Dak even more money at this point, which look at what Patrick Mahomes did today. They created $21.6 million more dollars for that offense to become even more
so they can go get a bunch of other people to help fill it in.
Or the defense. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about is, all right, you've got your guy, and the more winning you do, the more endorsements you can get. So, it's wild that the Cowboys haven't done a single thing, and then all of the blame is going to end up going on Dak Prescott later. He did what he said he was going to do last year, which was throw 10 or less interceptions, and he did that.
And he did. Who would have thought that the Green Bay Packers would have been the team to take him down there? And you mentioned the Chiefs specifically. I mean, they're only seeming to get better, in my opinion. They're getting rid of some of the guys that weren't really the best, but they've added a few players on defense, re-signed several players, brought in another tight end. But, like you said, Patrick Mahomes kind of doing a little bit of what Tom Brady was doing back in the day. And, it's not necessarily like you're saving the team money, but you're allowing the team an opportunity to get more players and you still be there. And I just, you worry because, what if they're better than they were last year? And that's a scary thought for the AFC.
Oh, the Texans got Jeff Okudah. Sorry,
Did it just come through?
Well, I don't know if it's just came through. I'm just looking at some of the teams and what they've done. The Texans are going to be a force to be reckoned with. The
Texans have made a ton of moves here in the in this legal tampering period. It's pretty wild how many people they've either re-signed or signed, and they picked up, and like I said yesterday, and Liam was excited about when I told him they picked up Azeez Al-Shaair, who's a great linebacker for the Niners. I forget who he played for last season. The Titans, but he's coming back home with D'Amico Ryans. Kind of a very Dre Greenlaw type of player, plays with a lot of passion, and the Texans are going from being at the bottom of the barrel a couple of years ago to play in the playoffs next year and being a potential contender coming up in the second year for D'Amico Ryans. So kudos to him on what he's doing. Coming up here in the next segment, we'll be moving to the top of the hour, shifting gears over to the golf world, talking with Keith Fleming about the Players Championship and all you need to know on how to win yourself some money. You're listening to The Inside Drive. We'll be right back.
The ESPN Northwest Florida Big Bracket Challenge.
March Madness is incoming, and for the most bracket-busting fun, we've got you covered. This Sunday, find out who is going to the big dance. Selection Sunday coverage starts at 5. Then, fill out your bracket by going to ESPNPC.com and clicking Big Bracket Challenge. Free to play, and you can win cash and prizes from your home for March Madness.
It's ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Wednesday. For this afternoon and evening, some sun and a high of 70 with a gentle breeze at 9 miles per hour out of the south-southeast. Tonight, slight fog and partly cloudy skies with lows around 58. Tomorrow, slightly foggy in the morning and then some clouds and a temperature near 74. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. We invite you to stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new 2024 Kia. You'll see why everyone is talking about Kia. The 2024 Kia will give you the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. The SUV family has movement that inspires. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. Fuel the thrill and command the road in a luxury sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a new 2024 Kia K5. Performance, power, and design built just for you. Discover the new Kia at Bill Bird Kia. Bill Bird Kia, the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you just like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Your local community dealer is Bill Bird Kia.
The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. WVLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Haven. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
For
The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley.
This man is destroying golf.
Broadcasting live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios.
You may be right, but our ratings are up and we're attracting new youthful sponsors.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Rockets in flight. Afternoon delight.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Live and local on 104.3 in Panama City, Panama City Beach, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Watch and listen on Facebook, X, and YouTube. And also don't forget to download that free mobile app inside the Google Play or Apple Store. It is Wednesday. It's a big week in the world of golf, typically. Might be the weakest field they've ever seen at this tournament, but that's neither here nor there. And I do have to apologize, Keith, when we talked earlier this morning. I did not find out until about 40 minutes to the start of the show that Swing Doc Jay Henley was not going to be here as he was working with his American-Scottish guy, whoever it may be.
He is such a jerk, especially because I don't really have an afternoon delight now. I'll just go ahead and let people know. I was going to tell him basically the synopsis of Good Will Hunting, and see if he could figure it out. That there was an equation at an Ivy League school on a chalkboard. It just mysteriously got solved. They eventually found out it was the janitor and just the whole thing, and see if Jay could figure out that this was just a straight movie and I was messing with him. So that's my bad. He let us down, Jay.
I was excited about that, and I think that's the perfect afternoon delight debrief for you every Wednesday is to give a movie synopsis and see if Jay can get it, because always you never know what he's going to say. Sometimes he gets it right off the cuff, and sometimes he says some crazy stuff, but he's got to make money, so we understand. But it is TPC Sawgrass Tournament Week, and should be a fun one. But there's also a lot of stuff going on in the world of golf right now, not only with Jay Monahan, but Scotty Scheffler and all those guys getting into it a little bit. It's just kind of a weird time in the world of golf that we're living in right now.
It is. Did you get to kind of see the cliff notes that I sent you of Jay's press conference yesterday?
Yeah, and I looked at him a little bit earlier this morning as well. Basically said a whole lot of nothing and saying that, we got to take our time and get this thing done.
But they got a new PR person for sure, because he said the word fans like 27 times, and that's kind of been left out of the equation is, well, what does this do for golf fans, the people that allow you to have these purses and be on TV and everything? And I don't think, again, he didn't really have an answer, but somebody got to him that, like, we need to figure this out because ratings are down. The ratings last week were awful for an event with basically the number one player in the world winning. I know it wasn't super close, but some of the lowest Sunday Bay Hill numbers in quite some time.
Yeah, and what do you think? Do you think it's the few players that have left, or you just think it's the overall state of the game of golf?
I think it is, like, partly because of the players that left. I was talking to you about this, I think, yesterday, that it's just PGA Tour events feel less significant now than they have in a long time. And obviously, from the get-go, think live events are definitely not significant in any way. And it's a shame. It feels like golf is moving to where the four majors are it. And if that's the case, it basically becomes tennis, because that's tennis. Like, they have a group of hardcore fans that would be like me and you for golf, that they're going to watch every week no matter what. But probably, a bigger stage, bigger audience is going to be 4 times a year for the majors.
Yeah, no, and I think that'll probably never change. I would like to think that would probably never change, but I mean, if we continue down this divide, it may still eliminate some of those, best players in the world. Obviously, they are playing on the LIV Tour, but they're still, just because they're playing on that tour does not take away their talent and how good at golf they still are. I mean, these first 2 majors we got coming up, the defending champions are both LIV Tour members, which I don't think the PGA Tour, when this all went down, thought that was how this thing's going to play out, and I kind of think that too is led to why they're in the position that they are, because I truly believe, and I think a lot of the players did, especially Rory, truly believed that this LIV Tour thing wasn't going to survive. But when you have that kind of money and that kind of backing, and you can pull some of these big names in, they're obviously here to stay. And I think the PGA Tour needs to either draw the line in the sand and say, we've got this SSG group, we got their money, we can sustain this year. And I think I don't think anything's going to happen this year. In my opinion. I think they're using this year as a kind of a feel-out year. Let's see how we do with ratings with this SSG group. We're able to sustain these signature or these whatever the signature events and these big purses. Let's see how this year shakes out. And then if we're just declining, still losing these big titles, because they're losing 3 or 4 big-time title sponsors next year. They obviously already lost the Honda, but then got the Cognizant in there. And I think they'll use this year to determine what the future looks like in golf instead of getting anything done this season. What do you think, Keith?
I completely agree, and I think Alan was making a really good point today on our text thread that the PGA Tour cannot continue to use this old, outdated model of golf coverage, the way golf's talked about. They need to lean more into social media to try to get a younger audience. I was saying they need to lean much more heavily into betting because that is something people love to gamble. Yep. And if they are constantly talking about the odds, matchups, things you can bet on during the telecast, more people will watch just to bet. And they just need to get creative. And I do not trust Jay Monahan to be the guy to lead them, back to the promised land, if you will.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. I mean, there is a huge opportunity, in my opinion. And, it kind of goes with the generations, right? The generation that's the old school guard in golf, they're getting older. They're aging out, so to speak. And now you have these new generations that are instant gratification, exciting, keep my attention, all that stuff. And you've seen it in all the other sports. You've seen baseball make the game quicker. You've seen hockey make the scoring faster. The NFL's done several things to make it more exciting and more entertaining. Really, every professional sport except for golf, and they're kind of in this limbo period right now, has done something to engage the younger audience, the audience that it's just fact. The attention span of the younger Americans in this day and age is nowhere near what it used to because there's so many other distractions going on. But the fact that you guys are talking about betting, there's a massive opportunity. I mean, put stuff up on the screens. Have, DraftKings, FanDuel, BetUSA, have QR codes on the screen where you can go right in there, place a live bet. Is this guy going to hit the ball within, 20 feet? Stuff like the stuff we used to do when we had a camera at one of the holes for the hole in one. You bet on people playing golf, they're going to hit the green or not. That's a great point that you guys brought up. There is a huge opportunity when it comes to fan engagement besides just your traditional come to the golf tournament because it's been awesome for so long. Watch these guys play. They're all good. They hit it a mile. We know that. But they've got to capitalize on something to engage their audiences. And I think you guys are spot on with that.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's just difficult because, I know you love the game of golf. I love the game of golf. And it really is starting to feel like these guys screwed up the professional sport.
Yeah.
By basically having a civil war is what, for all intents and purposes happened. And it's diluted both products and made them both seem, just less relevant. So I hope they figure it out. But again, with Jay Monahan, who's made some of the worst decisions I've ever seen for a person that's leading an organization or giant company, I don't have a lot of faith.
Yeah. Hey, PGA Tour, give me a call. We'll shake some things up and make some stuff happen. I'd love to have an opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can get a partnership like DraftKings or FanDuel. You're telling me if you're going to constantly have their odds and betting boards or ESPN Bet, whoever you want to go through, I think that's a real, opportunity to be a win-win for both, like both the betting site as well as, the tour.
Oh, they'd love to tap heavily into that golf market. I mean, there is no doubt about it. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. So kind of staying in that same topic, you had mentioned it to me and I kind of looked at a little information, pretty straightforward, but, Rory's obviously, he's not kind of in the limelight as much anymore. And really, to be honest, hasn't played really great golf since he won the Scottish Open last year. And I think it
affected him.
It completely affected him. I mean, I watched that whole new season of Full Swing and you can just feel it. He just got to a point where he's like, you know what? Forget it. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not being the guy. I need to focus. Because it was a full-time job in addition to trying to be one of the best golfers in the world. But what do you think about, obviously, Scotty had a great performance, but what do you think about Scotty Scheffler not saying anything about the PGA Tour or the leaders of any of the things, but calling out the players who left to go to the LIV Tour, saying they're the cause of the divide? What do you think about that?
I think it's fair. My problem with the LIV, you remember I was very against it. I've since changed my tune just because the PGA's proved that the reasons they were saying was wrong for LIV they proved that was just BS, and that they flip-flopped on it. But for somebody like Scheffler, I think he really, truly cares about the prestige and legacy of being one of the best players in the world. And that has always been my favorite part about golf is you don't have any teammates. Nobody's playing defense against you. It's you versus the field and versus the course. And it's going to, like, if there's a divide moving forward where half of the best players in the world are on one tour and half are on the other, how are we going to know really who's the great? Like, the guys that win in this is the guys that are done and retired or getting ready to retire, and their legacy and record is cemented. It's the guys that are moving forward. Like, let's say Scheffler goes on a huge run this year, which we think that it's possible. He wins 2-3 majors. There's going to be people saying there needs to be an asterisk or a but, or, you know, I mean, there's just going to be all kinds of comments because some of these live guys are not going to qualify for the majors, despite probably they would if they were on the PGA Tour. And then again, regular events, the fields are kind of diluted to where it's, we were talking about it, plus 550 this week for Scheffler. It's ridiculous, but it's also not.
Yeah. No, and you know, two kind of points to that. The first one I'll make is, you know, it's almost like the PGA Tour is shooting themselves in the foot. They created these signature events to kind of, let's just call it what it is, to keep up with what the LIV Tour is paying out to these guys. But then at the same time, it makes all those other tournaments just not that important. Not saying for the guys that are playing on the PGA Tour, but for the fans that are watching. Are people now they're going to go out of way to watch some of these other off tournaments that, you know, don't have the top, or maybe have one or two guys in it? You know, they almost shot themselves in the foot a little bit on that. And then on the second thing, going back to Scotty Scheffler, you know, if he truly wants to be the best in the world and these guys want to compete against the best in the world, don't you think they'd be working? How do we get everything back together? How do we get so we are competing against the best players in the world? Obviously, what all has happened, and that's now where we are in the professional game of golf. But guys like Rory, guys like Scheffler that are still on and showed their loyalty to the PGA Tour and are having fantastic success. If you are truly playing the game of golf because you want to be the best in the world, don't you need to be playing against all of the best players in the world and give them all the same opportunity to be those things? It'd be interesting to see if this happened. It never would have when Tiger was in his heyday playing against the best players in the world, how he would have thought if this big fracture happened and, you know, he knew. I mean, because it is what it is. You're not playing against all of the best players. There is no doubt about that. But you would just think that these guys would want to work towards that goal. You know, yeah, they took the money. That sucks. You guys missed out on an opportunity. But if your true end game is playing against the best players in the world, then you need to figure out something with your tour and how to make that happen.
Yeah, it feels like that the simple answer would be just add 4 to 6 events that are, you know, live-in PGA Tour players are eligible for. And you can do the tops, you know, I don't know, 80 from the PGA Tour and however there's 60-something guys in LIV. And then you need to also make it easier for these LIV guys to qualify for the majors. You don't have to forget the world golf rankings. If they win an event, they automatically get in the majors, right? Like just like what you do at Augusta.
Yeah.
Like there's ways to do it.
There's solutions, absolutely.
And they're just it's you know, greed, power, all the things that, you know, screw up almost everything in this world. But I'm really disappointed because you know, I love this game, and it's just a shame to kind of see it shrinking in the sports landscape, you know, over the last year.
Almost like it's becoming slightly less relevant than it ever used to be, which is, as a golf fan and, you know, growing up in golf, doing it my entire life, it's kind of a sad thing. But hopefully you just hang on to the hope that, but like you said, you could still have these two separate tours, but make a couple pathways that they could be competing against. And if you do like what you just said, that's going to let the cream of the crop from the LIV Tour rise up and give them. And if they don't qualify, then they don't qualify. But there's definitely solutions to answers. And pivoting back now to the actual PGA golf world, and you know, Scotty Scheffler obviously had a very dominant performance there on Sunday at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and you know, that's a kind of a potential scary thought for the world, because we've talked about it at length, especially with you, Keith, about how good Scotty Scheffler is and how statistically bad of a putter he was, yet he still was able to win a lot of tournaments, switches a putter, and then just laps the field there in the final round on a very, very difficult golf course.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed because you chuckled because you said, you know, he's such a bad putter. No, he's an awful putter. Like it's unreal to look at his putting metrics the last 18 months, and then look at the results. I mean, he has like 5 or 6 wins in the last 18 months, a million top 10s, a ton of top 5s, and he's doing this really making nothing.
Yeah.
So to see him go out, like he was number 1 in the field last week at Ben Hill. It was almost 5.5 strokes more gained than his average on the season, which, again, includes a win he's already got this year. And if he starts putting well, the Tour is in trouble. My thing is, was it just a hot week? Because, I mean, he made all 15 putts inside of 15 feet on Sunday. I think I read that he made more putts of 20 feet or more in this tournament than he had in, like, the previous 5. But I think the change of the mallet, it could be something where it does fix it. And we know it's confidence, but it's also just about getting the ball online, right? And that is so much easier with a mallet putter than it is with a blade, especially when you're struggling.
Yeah, definitely. And, you saw Rory make the change to a mallet putter after he was. And I don't know if we talked about this morning, but I think, and this is just me living in the golf world forever, there's something that it's kind of like wearing the old FootJoy white classics, right? If you putt with a Scotty Cameron blade putter, it's just better, and it's an ego thing. Whereas, if these guys are struggling with getting the ball online, it is a lot harder to keep the putter face square with a blade putter than it is a mallet putter. It's just facts and statistics. So sometimes I think they got to let that ego to the side a little bit, because no one's going to care whether you're using a mallet or a blade watching you win golf tournaments. But do you think it's fair to say that blade putter is kind of an ego thing when it comes to some of the higher levels of golf?
I think it's a unreal, great point, because look at guys like Adam Scott, Will Zalatoris, Lucas Glover. Yeah, the putters that they putt with are hideous. I get it. It's kind of an embarrassing thing, right? When you have the broom or the putter that goes up half your arm, and some of these putter heads that look like a horseshoe or something, but they're making putts. And, I mean, we'll find out this week with Will Zalatoris. It appears he's fixed his putting.
Yeah.
And if he does that, he's going to start winning real soon, because he's kind of a lesser Scheffler that he dominates tee to green week in and week out. And that's probably exactly what it is. It's a vanity thing, because those Scotty Camerons are beautiful. More than anything, I always tell people they're just gorgeous, and they do feel really good coming off the face.
Absolutely.
It's another thing, but I'm with you. I swapped to an Odyssey mallet putter 2 years ago, and it's the best I've putted in 6-7 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and putting, especially for these guys and gals on the highest level of golf, the slightest little degree, even a half a degree, matters tremendously to get the ball started on the right line. All these guys know how to read the greens and get them. It's just whether you're getting that ball to start on the line or not. And it's easier with a mallet putter. It's easier to keep the club face square. And heck, Jack Nicklaus obviously putted with the blade, but how giant was that blade putter that he used? That obviously kept it more stable and easier to keep the club face square. So hopefully you'll start to see a little bit of that. But getting back to Scotty Scheffler, if maybe it was just a one-round anomaly where it got real hot, but we'll find out real quick this week if that bleeds over into a very difficult Pete Dye design golf course. And if it does and he keeps this going, look out, golf world, because that could be a scary, scary thing.
I want him to putt well, because I think it would unlock the best player since Tiger. We've been looking for that, and I think we talked about this briefly the other day as well. The Tour needs that superstar, that dynasty, right? Like the person that is winning and constantly in contention to the point where people will watch either to root for them or against them.
Absolutely.
And that's what happens when people, start dominating.
Yeah, and the PGA Tour certainly needs that right now. That is for sure. Because like I said, it's not just the people rooting for him to win. It's also the people tuning in to see him not win anymore. And that's kind of the same thing you had with Tiger. I think overwhelmingly people were Tiger fans, but you had people that weren't Tiger fans as well and would tune in just to see, is he finally going to collapse? Is he not going to win one on Sunday when he's got the lead? And it really just never happened until later 2000s. But Keith, we'll take a quick break and then we'll jump right back in to TPC Sawgrass, the Players Championship. Hard to believe it's this week. I love the fact that it's in May now. We got 5 straight months of just really good majors. It's not a major, but it might as well be. You're listening to The Inside Drive, live on the air with Keith Fleming. We'll be right back.
The ESPN Northwest Florida Big Bracket Challenge.
Three-pointer, puts it in.
We're taking March Madness to the next level. Join our bracket challenge at ESPNPC.com to compete with the ESPN Northwest Florida listeners and staff. The top 3 brackets win cash and prizes. Join the madness at ESPNPC.com. The ESPN Northwest Florida Big Bracket Challenge is sponsored by PCB Hobby, Pepsi, and Panama City Toyota.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your weather forecast on this Wednesday. Partly sunny the rest of the day with a gentle breeze around 9 miles per hour out of the south-southeast and temps near 70. We will have slight fog and partly cloudy skies tonight and be warm at 58. And slightly foggy in the morning, but otherwise some clouds tomorrow and a high 74. This forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you looking for a place to take a leak? Do you have a truck, tractor, or other hydraulic equipment leaking or not performing as it should? At Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, we can get you back to work. Do you have a busted or leaking hose? Hydraulic cylinder or pump needing repair? If competitive pricing and a quick turnaround are what matter to your business, come see us at Reliable Hydraulic Solutions. Or you can give us a call at 850-326-3000. Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, 6840 Highway 77 in Southport. The best place in town to take a leak.
Coming in hot.
So hot.
It'll be a hot one. Really hot.
Goddamn.
The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, as we are every Wednesday from 12 to 12:40, joined by Keith Fleming on the line, and it's a big golf tournament week this week just down the road from us in Ponte Vedra Beach, and that is the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass, the stadium course, one of Pete Dye's gems out there. Had the chance to play it one time. One time was enough. It was fun. It was beautiful, but boy, was it hard. All right, Keith, let's jump right into it.
Okay, so this is an event that, you know, water comes into play on 17 of 18 holes. I do want to start with some recent winter trends and details before we kind of get into stats. The big thing that I leaned into this week, especially if you're making bets on players to win, 14 of the last 16 winners, and all 5 since the event was moved to March or May, went early Thursday, late Friday. That is a huge trend. The last 2 times was 2013 Tiger Woods and 2014 Martin Keimer, but somebody did it the opposite way, where they went late Thursday, early Friday. I would definitely take that into consideration. I'm not saying that every play has to be that way, but you should probably lean more that way, especially if you're looking for winners.
And Scheffler, just a quick fun fact, Scheffler, is the tee times came out, he's going out in the afternoon on Thursday and playing in the morning on Friday. So, but that's a big time trend.
Bet against them.
yeah, for sure. Number 1 player in the world.
And then again, since the event has been moved, it's just played much easier. The fairways are not overseeded when this event is in May, but they are overseeded when it's in March. And you kind of explained it to me. I thought that was kind of the process. It's just by overseeding, the fairways cannot get really firm, and that makes it a much easier to hit fairways. Yep. And hitting fairways makes it much easier to hit greens. And we know there's significant rough. They've grown it out to about 1.5 inches. So this could be very similar to the Cognizant Classic, because right now the forecast is calling for calm conditions, especially with the wind for Florida. You've got 4 par 5s that are pretty easy, soft fairways. It would not shock me if we have some guys going really deep at this event. And then some other winter trends that they're just happen so many times that I really think you should pay attention to them. 16 of the last 17 winners finished 23rd or better in their previous players' appearance. 19 of the last 20 were ranked in the top 45 official world golf ranking, and 4 of the 5 winners since the event has been moved to March were top 10. Scotty Scheffler, Cam Smith, JT, and Rory. Siwoo Kim was the only one not top 10 in the official world golf ranking at the time of their win. 12 of the last 13 had made at least 5 starts in this event. It's a course that, the more experience and time you get out there, the better you kind of understand it. 11 of the last 12 winners had a top 5 finish in the calendar year before their win. 10 of the last 12 were top 45 in strokes gained around the greens the year they won. That is something I leaned into very heavily again with my plays, because strokes gained around the green will help with bogey avoidance, to help with saving pars, and then obviously you got those 4 short par 5s that will help them attack those. And whoever's going to do well here this week, they have to beat up the par 5s. And then since the move to March, all 5 winners entered the event gaining an average of 1.5 strokes gained on the field per round in the 4 months leading into this event. There are only 3 players in the field this week that meet that criteria. Scotty Scheffler, at 2.28 strokes per round. Our boy Matthew Pavin, who I've been talking about a lot on here, the Frenchman, he's 1.52 strokes per round. And the one that surprised me was Xander Schauffele at 1.51 strokes per round. But those are 3 guys, again, 5 straight years since the event has moved. It would not surprise me if the winner ends up coming from one of those 3 names.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those golf courses, and like you mentioned, it's definitely been playing easier. I mean, Ryegrass is just a totally different surface than Bermuda grass, and when they played it in May, that golf course was hot, it was firm, it was fast, it brought the water more into play, and you could just hit the ball, into more trouble. Yes, you could hit it further down the fairway too, but it could also get you into more trouble. Where Ryegrass, it's overseeded. The rough, yes, is a little thicker, but just a much wider leaf blade, and slows that ball down a little bit more. So like you said, it's hard to believe it's been 5 years since they moved it to March, but just a completely different way the golf course plays. So having some of that data you're talking about is very important going into when you're picking these lineups and placing bets.
Absolutely. So some of the stats I leaned into this week, I really did lean more into the recent winter trends and just a player's success at this venue over the years. But you need to look at good drives gained, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained approach, bogey avoidance. Again, that strokes gained around the green, scrambling's really important. Par 5 scoring is huge this week. And then this is what I love about some of these modules that you can do on these sites. Strokes gained tee to green on Pete Dye courses, strokes gained putting on Bermuda greens. And then the course comps, I don't really do a lot for an event like this, but if you wanted to look at other courses, I would recommend any Pete Dye course, because a lot of them are very similar in the way they're laid out, and Harbor Town.
Yeah.
The official DK lineup and some of my bets this week, let's start with, I do cash games, right? It's what I recommend to people. Those are single entries, so that means it's either a 50-50 double up or just a single entry where everybody in the field can only get 1 entry in that event. And we had a saying, right? I'm pretty sure I said on the show several times to my buddy Dave Eddy during football season that 3 constants: death, taxes, and playing CMC and cash. I'm getting to the point where it's death, taxes, and Scotty Scheffler and cash for golf. So I'm going to spend the $12,500. I know it's so much, and it stings, but he just had his best putting week in almost 18 months. He's first on tour in total strokes gained, strokes gained tee to green, second in strokes gained approach, first in par 5 scoring, first in birdie average. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And, oh, by the way, he won this event last year. I can't in good conscience recommend betting him at plus 550, but I like that he's in the afternoon Thursday. Pay attention to them live odds. You remember one of the big hits we've had this year was at the Hero, right, where I think he got up to like 16, 17 to 1 when he was only 5 shots back. 6 holes into it. I told everybody, jump on it right now. It's the easiest money we've ever made. If he gets to the 10 to 12 range and is within 5, 6 shots and is not that far into his round, which whether that means he gets off to a little bit of a slow start or somebody goes really deep in the Thursday morning wave, I would highly recommend jumping on him. Again, because of taking Scheffler, going to have to go a little bit lower with the rest of the plays. So I'm going to go Jason Day at 8,900. He's 55 to 1 to win, plus 500 to top 5. And I don't know his current odds for first round leader, but I really like him going off at 8 a.m. in calm conditions. He's 9th in strokes gained around the greens on tour. His biggest bugaboo has been finding fairways, and those soft fairways and calm conditions should help him do that. From there, he's incredible. He has gained at this event significant strokes on the field in ball striking and on approach. He's won here before. He's played well since the move to March. and he's got 2 top 10 finishes his last 3 starts, so he's in great form. My favorite play this week, Minwoo Lee, 8K on DK, 55-1 to win, 10-1 to top 5. It's kind of ironic that it was this week, last year, that he burst on the scene, at least in front of a big PGA audience, finishing 6th at this event. And for his first time playing such a difficult course, he kind of showed he likes this layup because he gained 1.09 strokes in the field tee to green, and then over 0.72 strokes on approach and in ball striking. He is just, a stud. He's played 14 events combined on the DP Tour and PGA Tour since November. He made the cut in all of them. And in that span, he's had 4 top 5 finishes, including a runner-up at another waterline venue that were calm conditions played a part at PGA National, and that was recently. So I really like Minwoo Lee. Tom Hoge is a real value this week at 7,800. He's in the lineup. He is 65-1 to win, plus 550 to top 10. Since the move of this event to March, 4 consecutive top 33 finishes, highlighted by a 3rd-place finish last year. He is first on tour in strokes gained approach for the season, and last week at Bay Hill, he was first in the field on strokes gained approach, and he is also in great form with 5 straight top 28 finishes in his last 5 starts on tour. Doug Ghim, 6,800. He is 18-1 to top 5 and 8-1 to top 10. He missed the cut at this event last season, but the previous 2 years he finished 29th and 6th. He is having an unreal year. I don't think most people are paying attention to. He is 3rd on tour in strokes gained tee to green. He's 12th in strokes gained approach. He is one of the best players on tour in par 5 scoring. He's excelling in bogey avoiding. His worst finish in his last 4 events on tour, despite, I think it's 3 of them being signature events, is 16th. And in those 4 events, he's made 5 eagles and 77 birdies. That is the exact kind of guy I want for DraftKings, somebody with history at the venue, someone that makes a ton of birdies and eagles, and he's been having really good finishes as well. So it doesn't leave me a lot of money, so I had to go into that 5K range, which it seems like this year there's more good plays in that range than in previous years, but Chesson Hadley is somebody I've been using a good bit this year. He's 5,700 on DK, 18-1 to top 10, 7-1 to top 20. He's made the cut in 3 of his last 4 appearances at the Players, and he's been doing it by gaining strokes on the field, tee to green, ball striking, and on approach, which is basically the recipe to do well at this venue. He's currently 42nd on tour in total strokes gained, 67th in strokes gained around the green, 15th in strokes gained putting, and 12th in bogey avoidance, which is really important. Another thing I did want to highlight, outside of Scotty Scheffler, every one of those players is going in the morning wave. All right, I've got 4 other options just really quickly. The first is Hideki Matsuyama. He is 35-1 to win, 8-1 to top 5. Hideki is 2nd on tour in strokes gained around the greens, plays par 5s really well, and he's just, Hideki's on a tear. I think the 35-1 is a little lower than what I'd like, but this is a weaker player, so I actually think it may be a value at the end of the day. The 8-1 to me feels really good. I like his chances. Sam Burns is next, 9,200, 40-1 to win. Burns is one of those guys going in the morning. He has played this event twice, finished in the top 30 both times, so he's starting to get his sea legs, if you will, at this venue. And again, the softer fairways, the big deal for Burns is if he can find the fairways, we know he's elite from that point on. He's great on approach. He's good around the greens, a great Bermuda green putter. So I really like him this week. And then 2 other values. Let's start with Matthew Pavin. I don't understand the disrespect. He's 6,700 on DK. I guess that's because he shot 80 on Sunday at Bay Hill, but he's still, got a win and a runner-up at arguably the 2 hardest venues they played this year. He's one of the top players on tour in strokes gained total, strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach, all things that players usually excel here at. He's 130-1 to win, 22-1 to top 5, and 10-1 to top 10. I like that. And then rounding it out, Brendan Todd, Sea Island guy, he is 6,500 on DK, 9-1 to top 10. He's in really good form and is a player that plays these courses that put an emphasis on hitting fairways and hitting greens, not hitting it in the hazard, which are all things Todd excels at. I think he's got a great chance to make the cut, and that makes him a real value at 6,500.
Yeah, there you go. It's it's a tough one to pick because it's a very difficult golf course. But like you said, there's some things that are a little different when they play it in this month. I want to ask you a question specifically. A popular golf bet is a first round leader golf bet, and obviously golf tournaments are not won or lost in the first round. So when you had mentioned, I think you had mentioned Jason Day in that one, but what are you looking for a little bit when it comes to that first round leader? Obviously, probably the wave that they're playing in, the time, all that kind of weighs into what you're looking at with that.
Absolutely. If I'm going to do a first round leader bet, the first thing I want to do is look at the conditions. Is it going to be tougher to play it in the morning or the afternoon? Most events, it's going to be tougher in the afternoon because the course is going to dry out. It's wet in the morning, so it plays soft. It's just much easier for players. The other thing I look at is you can find in a lot of areas first-round scoring average, and there are players that just get off to good starts. I also always look for players that might, be in a twosome and everybody else is in a threesome or playing by themselves. It's amazing. They usually let those guys go off first in those situations. They can play really quickly. But I think the main thing is that's kind of a dart bet, right? Like when you bet a small amount on some of the guys that you think have a chance to go low. Like Aaron Rai is a guy this week that one of the best iron players in the world. He's going out, I think, at like 7:40 or 8 a.m. on Thursday. It would not surprise me at all if he shoots 5-6 under and his name's at the top of the leaderboard at the end of round one. Do I think Aaron Rai is going to win the event or be in contention on Sunday? No, but he's the kind of player that can get hot and going off early in easy conditions. That's kind of what I'm looking for is players that make a lot of birdies. They go low often. And usually they're playing early or just in the easier conditions of the two waves.
Well, and from a excitement and betting standpoint, if you're a big bettor and, that kind of helps drive your viewership and watching. I mean, it gives you something to kind of really pay attention to in the first round where, it's a 4-round tournament. So there's a lot more that still has to happen. And like you said, nobody usually wins or loses in that first round, but kind of adds a little flair and excitement to betting that first round and makes that first round even more interesting. As long as you're not doing it mistakenly thinking you're betting for the tournament winner.
Absolutely, but you get great odds. I mean, some of the odds are outrageous
fantastic.
For first round winners. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, $10 to win $550 on Jason Day. That's not bad at all. Plus 5,500 here. So,
obviously, if you win that, even if you're doing 2-3 a week, you only got to win one every 3-4 months, and you're good.
Yep, absolutely covering that stuff. All right, we got about a couple minutes left, Keith. Getting to the course specifically. Obviously, number 17 is kind of the famous hole and all that with Sawgrass. But what are some of your favorite aspects of that golf course, or maybe some specific holes that you just love to watch more than some of the others?
I mean, I just don't think people realize how tough it is when you miss greens around there because these are really undulated, large greens.
Very.
And you play there, the bunkers and lies that you get, missing a green by 5 feet, make you question your sanity. Like, what am I doing here playing a sport that punishes you this bad for missing it by, a green by 5 feet? So, I mean, that's the first thing. The second thing is just everybody talks about 17. It's so overrated. Like, I understand on Sunday or if there's really windy conditions, like, you're in contention on Sunday. But that's a huge green, and these guys are hitting, like, gap wedge and wedge into it. That's not an intimidating hole. 18's tee shot, whole different ball game.
Yep.
I said the other night on our show that Tiger Woods, when he won in 2013, he didn't fist pump when he made par after hitting the middle of the green on 17. When he struck that 3-wood right down the middle of 18, he did the Tiger twirl. I mean, he was walking like he was on top of the world because he knows how difficult of a shot he just pulled off under pressure. So, I mean, that tee shot, it just feels like there's nothing but water and wood.
Yeah.
And there's no fairway.
Yep. Well, and then they got you just see so many people bail out right on 18, and with Rye Rough now, it's thick. You got all those trees over there on the right side. You'd really have to just suck it up and hit a really good golf shot to, if it's a close coming down to the last hole. And how many times have we seen in this tournament's history, just somebody winning that golf tournament on 18 with a good tee shot, and then was it Hal Sutton that hit that great one? It might have been a different.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yep. And he
beat Tiger.
Great tee shot and then knocked it out, which is that 18th green, you don't realize the undulation that is right in the middle of that bad boy is extreme. And they always put the pin in the back left on Sunday. And you have to, if you need a birdie on that hole, that is not a good thing because it is very, very difficult, especially on Sunday, to knock one in for a birdie on that hole. No doubt.
Absolutely. I will say, though, I'm not trying to drag TPC Sawgrass or anything, but I've played it twice, and both times I've played it, the greens have just been airified. And, that's extremely disappointing. Maybe it's, our fault for not looking more into it, but
they should tell you,
two different times a year. Yeah, exactly. Like, neither time did they say, hey, by the way, our greens are punched. The rate was cheaper, which is nice, but I highly recommend, if you haven't played it, playing it once. But I am with you that I think once you play it once, that'll be enough. Go play a course that's a little easier.
Yeah, it's certainly, any Pete Dye course will definitely do that to you. But awesome course to play and a fun one to enjoy. But yeah, it certainly kicks your butt. Keith, real quick before we got to take a break, tell everybody where they can find all your great information.
You can find me on the Twitter/X, as Jay says, at Keith Fleming. That's KeithFleming. And obviously on Fantasy Six Pack, Fantasy and Frames, we just started a weekly fantasy football show that we do on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. on Fantasy and Frames YouTube channel. And then we also started a wrestling podcast that we would love people to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. And that's Inside the Squared Circle, and that is at Inside SQ Circle.
There you go. Keith, we appreciate you as always, and we'll look forward to seeing how this golf tournament shakes out, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Yeah, let's win some money.
Yeah, that would be a good thing, that's for sure. You're listening to The Inside Drive. We'll be right back with our final segment on this beautiful Wednesday.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The afternoon underdogs.
Maybe RBI, because it's already saying runs batted in. You're already saying Burrow because it's saying runs batted in built into it. But when you have the people giving stats out and it's kind of being redundant.
Very intellectual of you.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts in Delhi. Call 763-1627.
As a realtor, it's important who you choose as your title company. May we suggest South Oak Title? Their offices are modern, comfortable, and state-of-the-art. South Oak Title can close transactions in any location in Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Their free mobile app allows realtors to deliver a net sheet in seconds. They provide mobile closing services to accommodate buyers and sellers. Their offices are beautifully decorated, state-of-the-art, complete, safe, and secure. South Oak Title, creating a better title and closing experience through technology and tailored service. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Welcome to the Inside Drive, the next big thing.
It's a big, huge, giant deal.
Sports betting, huge reactions, your calls and real-time coverage of the stories you're following. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back to listen to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Our final segment here on this beautiful Wednesday with the weather continuing to heat up as we get closer to the weekend. A little bit of a cold front coming through early next week, but Easter's not till the 31st, and there's always a little bit of a cold snap one more time right before Easter. So just hang in there. Maybe we'll wash away some of this pollen that's out there, but all part of the things when you live in one of the most beautiful parts of the country, that is for sure. Don't forget, go to ESPNPC.com because we've got the Big Bracket Challenge up. We are ready to play with as many listeners as possible to see who can guess all the madness, because there will be madness. There never is anything besides that, and that's the beautiful thing about the NCAA tournament, both on the men's and women's side. I'm looking forward to that getting going next week. Crazy, it's already here. That means we're getting ever so closely to Masters Week and the month of April, because usually that Masters Week, that national championship is either on the Monday starting Masters Week, or it's right around that same thing. So I kind of culminate the national championship in basketball, or can have it all in the same thought process as Masters Week. So looking forward to that. But you can join us. You can sign up and play with us and all the listeners here in Northwest Florida just by visiting, as I said, ESPNPC.com. There's a big old thing that you just click. It says Big Bracket Challenge. You sign up if you got an ESPN Fantasy account. If you don't, it just takes a couple seconds to make one. That's sponsored by PCB Hobby, Pepsi, Panama City Toyota, and then our friends here at ESPN Northwest Florida. Join us, sign up. It's going to be a fun time. See who can predict the most stuff, because it's all about guessing who's going to get upset and who's not. A couple local games to this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. You got on the baseball side, Bozeman trying to stay undefeated, and they're 8-0. They're hosting Florida State University High School, who is 3-5-1. Not very often you see a tie there in the standings on the baseball side of things, but I'm sure it could have been weather-related or something like that. And then you've got North Bay Haven softball, 8-2, traveling to play Science Hill. Not really sure where Science Hill is, but good luck to both of those local programs, Bozeman baseball and North Bay Haven varsity softball, competing later on tonight. So
for some reason, I just feel like Jay would know where Science Hill.
Oh, yeah. I used to sell air conditioners at Science Hill. That would 100% be what happens, that's for sure. Got a lot of fun stuff to talk about tomorrow, but since we've got a huge Alabama fan here with us, a lot of people were talking about this. He was on Capitol Hill yesterday, and that's Nick Saban. He was talking NIL, and what he believed about college sports no longer exists. So a lot of speculation going on about why Nick Saban retired. A lot of people saying it's just the landscape has changed so much. We talked about it earlier with Brad Law very briefly. And, I think we're all in agreement that the kids should get paid in some way, shape, or form. But obviously, what's developed with NIL is gotten pretty crazy. And Nick's come out and said a few things. And one of the quotes he had yesterday is, "All the things that I believed in for all of the years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics." Saban said it was always about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. Saban told a story about a recruiting breakfast hosted at his home that ended his wife, Terry, questioning why they're still doing this. She said, "All they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how much you're going to develop them, which is what we've always done. So why are we doing this?" Saban explained. The discussion was hosted by Senator Ted Cruz, Republican out of Texas. Other participants included Saban's former boss, Alabama Athletic Director Greg Byrne, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, and student athletes Haley and Hannah Cavender. Haley is planning to return to college basketball next season with TCU. Saban stepped down as Alabama's head coach, notably back in January, after leading the team to 6 national championships in 17 seasons. The 17-year-old went on to advocate for a revenue-sharing model that would benefit the student athletes while also creating a better competitive balance. If we had some sort of revenue-sharing proposition that did not make the student athletes employees, I think that may be a long-term solution. You could create a better quality of life for student athletes. You could still emphasize development. You can still create brand and athletic development with a system like that would be equal in all institutions. You couldn't raise money at one school to create a competitive advantage over another. David Hayes, thoughts?
Well, I'm seeing some of the stuff of him getting, and I saw some of this yesterday, of him getting roasted by a lot of fans on Twitter. And I find that funny because Saban's not saying that the players shouldn't get paid.
No, absolutely
What he's saying is he retired because at the end of the year when they're having their meetings, the only thing that matters to those kids is, well, how much can you pay me? Because Tulsa's willing to pay me this amount of money. And so right there. How are you supposed to develop someone when the only thing that they want to develop is their pocketbook at that point in time? And so I don't blame them. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's going to be a little bit easier for young coaches in this day and age. And hopefully he remains trying to help improve college football in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I think you got a lot of guys. We referenced Cliff Ellis earlier, and I know he is actively involved in some of these things. And he said they're advocating, again, it's not about players not being able to be compensated in one way, shape, or form. It's about how out of control it's gotten for these players and the competitive advantages that schools may have over one another. And, of course, Alabama was very dominant under the recruiting aspect, but that's because of what they were doing with developing players, creating good men, and getting people in the NFL. Now it's about what are you paying me in college when the NIL was supposed to be about what I could make based off of what I do on the football field with selling jerseys and autographs and doing commercials and stuff like that. So I love to see him still being involved, but that's what coaches get into the sport for, right? Is to help people, help develop them. If they're good enough, get them to that next level. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, make sure they leave a better person than they came to you with. And it just seems like it's very difficult to do that now for a lot of these high-end programs that these kids are all about making money.
Well, there's a difference in making the money and using that as a tool and then doing whatever it is that you do just for the money, because then that falls under, you're just in love with money at that point. And that just so happens to be the root of all evil at that point. But one thing that I will say is that the thing that I do like about the NIL, because of course the athletes should be making money off of their name, image,
given
and likeness.
how much the schools are making off their abilities.
And I don't care about being an Alabama fan or anything. I love the competitive balance that it's brought. So that's one of the good things. However, the negative thing is each year, like I can't roll down through Alabama's roster or go to, it's so hard to try to keep up with all of these teams because the movement is just so vast that it makes it tough. I can only imagine being a fan of a Mississippi State and that roster turnover and it's like you almost expect watching throughout the season, and you're like, man, this guy is good. I can't wait to see how he grows next year. Now you're probably thinking, well, I wonder where he's going to go next year.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally changed the mindset very, very quickly. And like you said, I agree with you. I think, but is there going to be a concerted effort to quote unquote level the playing field? I don't know, because I guess you could say before it was level, but we all know there was a lot of stuff. Anytime you have stuff going on, there's always stuff behind the scenes that's not legal until you get caught. So, I mean, to that point, was anything ever really level? I don't know, but it's cool to see some of these coaches that have been in the game for so long, whether it's basketball, football, women's basketball, whatever it may be. And it's cool to see kids being able to make the money that they're making, but it seems to be taking away from the overall point of playing the sport.
Well, it's already starting to happen because people are starting to notice that the high school kids aren't really getting their fair shot as well because of all of this. Now, the COVID year had the extra year of COVID eligibility had a big role to play in that. But yeah, what are parents going to start doing when they're no longer even going to the high schools? And it's like, look, you can work your way up by just focusing on NAIA or on Division II or Division III, and unless you're a 5-star athlete, we're not even going to come bother seeing you.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we're at that point yet, but it's going to, I mean, and it makes sense to some extent, right? Who would you rather plug into your team? Someone who you kind of know what they bring to the table, or someone who's an unknown and you have to develop? But that goes back to what you said earlier. What do coaches get involved in coaching for? And that is to develop young men, and not just into football players, because a great coach is going to develop them into good young men.
Yeah, and I was talking to some people the other day talking about football and the recruiting process and all that. They were saying you're starting to see a lot more of these, players getting recruited and stuff, not out of high school, but like the pylon 7-on-7 tournaments and stuff like that, where it's kind of like going back to what we were talking about with Gordon Blakely. He's getting these American ball players to go down to these Latin American countries because that's where the scouts are. Yeah. There's more eyes on them, and you're seeing a little bit less and less because they have to focus as much, if not more, time on the transfer portal because they got to keep their job because it's win for me now lately, and it's just it's a weird place we are in college athletics, but it's certainly going to be an exciting season with the expanded playoff and all that. And people all, when Saban left, thought Alabama, it's the end of the world, but Debo's doing pretty good over there, getting some of these recruits, and Alabama's A game will be right there on ESPN.
Yeah, we'll see about all of that. I still think those are some pretty big shoes to fill.
No doubt.
Hoping the best for Coach Kalen DeBoer, but again, man, that is we can think about it all we want, and really even year one, I don't think it's more about standing the test of not. I say stand the test of time, but let me see consistency from you.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to get from year one? I mean, if he goes 8-4 in year one, it doesn't seem to me, you got to start out high.
Yeah.
Here. Like 10-2. If you go 10-2, I think you're good to be 9-3 or so the next year, maybe move up in a positive direction. But what is the draw to get kids to go to Alabama now?
Yeah.
National championships, isn't it? Because it's not a guarantee that you're going to get that. Kids across the landscape of college football are getting into pro football anyways. So what is the draw to go to Alabama?
Yeah.
Georgia is that new Alabama right now.
Yeah, and I think another quote that came out, and it's not on the thing I was reading, but after they lost to Michigan in the semifinal, he said players were throwing helmets and just completely. He always says you got to win with class, but you got to lose with class too. And it just seems like the recent class, and probably across all of football, you're not seeing that as much anymore, and they're not losing with grace or class or whatever you want to say it. And he said that was another kind of tipping point for him as well. It's changed so much.
Well, yeah. First off, if you're only in a place for less than a year anyways, then it's so hard to build that culture. And if all you're worried, I get wanting to win, but once you lose, once the clock's hit 0 and you're not coming out as the winner, it is what it is.
Yep.
Throwing your helmet's not going to change anything. What's going to change something is getting right back into the weight room, getting right back into the things that you should be doing, because pitching a fit will do nothing but prolong your losing attitude.
Absolutely. And I think that's we're not talking about all, these kids on these
No
teams.
doubt.
I'd like to believe that there's still a large part of just speaking of college football in the Division I level, there's a large part of these kids that aren't going to go on to play NFL football and aren't making a ton of money, if any money, in the NIL stuff, and they're playing for one reason, because they love the game and they want to win, and they're just enjoying that while they can. So I think we're talking about maybe the top 20-30%, whatever it may be, but that bleeds through your whole culture and your whole system. But certainly changing quickly. But maybe DeBoer dives into the guys and he understands the landscape a little more, because he's a little bit younger and he's been doing it over there, and now he's got access to a program that not only has good NIL money but also has the pedigree of winning national championships in the last 20 years and how dominant they've been. So maybe he can walk that balance and, understand today's recruit or today's transfer portal player, and can get back to having a lot of success there at Alabama. Because like you said, it's going to be, if they go 8-4, any other program, you're in a transition year, it's okay.
Yeah.
But not at Alabama.
Yeah, I'll give him the grace, but I'm so much different.
Yeah,
you're 90%.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a lot different. That's for sure. But that takes us to the end of the show today. Don't forget to tune in to David Hayes and the Afternoon Underdogs tonight this afternoon. I always do that on ESPN Northwest Florida. If you like college basketball, there is a ton of games on today. We'll be back tomorrow at 11. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
ESPN Northwest Florida Big Bracket Challenge.
March Madness is incoming, and for the most bracket busting fun, we've got you covered. This Sunday, find out